4.3, this is the last section we'll do in chapter 4. We're going to split this up into 3 parts, kind of like we did with 4.2. So after 4.3, probably have a test of some sort over the 3 sections in chapter 4 that we learned. So 4.3, slope-intercept form, part 1. Does anyone know what slope-intercept form is? You've probably learned it before. You may just not remember exactly what it is.
Is it y equals mx plus b?
Very good. Y equals mx plus b. M represents our slope. Anyone know what b represents? B represents our y-intercept. Specifically our y-intercept. It can't be just any intercept. It's got to be our y-intercept. And that's why this is called slope-intercept form, because on the right side of the equation, we've got our slope, we've got our y-intercept. Okay with that? In order to write an equation in slope-intercept form, it's pretty simple. If I'm given the slope and the y-intercept, I can just plug the slope in for m, plug the y-intercept in for b, and I've got my equation. If you're given those things. Sometimes we're not always given those things, so we've got to use other methods to create our equation. An equation of the form y equals mx plus b, where m is the slope and b is the y-intercept, is written in slope-intercept form. This is a form of a linear equation. What does linear mean?
Straight line.
A line, right? It creates a line. When an equation is not in slope-intercept form, it might be easier to rewrite it before graphing. An equation can be rewritten in slope-intercept form by using the properties of equality. Our properties of equality are inverse operations. If I add one thing to one side, I got to add it to the other. If I subtract one thing from the other, one side, I got to subtract it from the other. Same thing with multiply and divide. Excuse me. The slope-intercept form of a linear equation is y equals mx plus b, where m is the slope, b is the y-intercept. Here's an example of what an equation in slope-intercept form might look like with numbers plugged in. What is negative 2 in this case? What was that representing? Slope. What is 7 representing? Y-intercept. So if it's in slope-intercept form, we can graph it pretty easy. What is a y-intercept?
Where it intercepts the y-axis.
Where it crosses the y-axis. So if I was graphing y equals negative 2x plus 7, my first point would be at 7 on the y-axis because I know that's my y-intercept. Then I'd use my slope of negative 2 to get more points from that. Slope is what over what?
Rise over run.
Rise over run. How would I create or make negative 2 a fraction?
2 over 1.
Anytime I need to make a whole number a fraction, I put it over 1. The negative would either go with the numerator or the denominator. It would not go with both the numerator and the denominator at the same time. Okay? And here our y-intercept would be 7. So if I'm doing rise over run from the y-intercept of 7, if I'm using this, rise over run, I'd go down 2, right 1. Because it's negative, telling me to go down. Positive, telling me to go right. If I was using this one, I'd go up 2, left 1. We okay with that? And we'll look at some examples more like that here in just a second. Are there any questions about any of this information on this slide? Main thing, you need to know that slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. Okay? Can I move on? Perfect. Example 1. Write an equation in slope-intercept form for the line with a slope of 4/7 and a y-intercept of 5. What is slope-intercept form? y equals mx plus b. What information am I given about my equation? Slope of 4 over 7. What variable represents slope? M. What else am I given? What? Y-intercept of 5. What variable represents y-intercept? B. In order to write an equation here, I need an m and a b. Do I have both of those? Yes, I do. So what am I replacing m with? 4 over 7. What am I replacing b with? 5. There's your equation. I'm done with the problem. If you're given the slope and the y-intercept and it tells you to write an equation, it's pretty easy. Just plug in the slope for m, plug in the y-intercept for b, you got your equation. You okay with example 1? Pretty easy? So far? Okay. Example 2. Write negative 22x plus 8y equals 4 in slope-intercept form. Once again, what is slope-intercept form? Y equals mx plus b. What variable is by itself in slope-intercept form? Y. It's solved for y, right? So here, it doesn't give me, hey, the slope is this, the y-intercept is this, plug in, you got your equation. It already gives me an equation, right? Any ideas how I would write this equation in slope-intercept form?
Don't we have to subtract to get certain stuff on certain sides?
Yeah, essentially we're solving for what?
Why?
Y. If we're already given an equation and it tells us to write it in slope-intercept form, I've just got to solve that equation for y. Because slope-intercept form is solved for y. Are we good with that? So what would be my first step here trying to get y by itself?
Subtracting 22x.
Now subtracting 22x, adding. It's negative 22x plus 8y. So since this is being added to 8y, I know I'm going to either add or subtract it to cancel it out. I've got to look at the sign in front of it. It's a negative 22x. I've got to add 22x in order to cancel it. You okay with that? Whatever I do to one side of the equal sign, got to do the other. If you need to draw a line down your equal sign so you can obviously or very easily see both sides of the equal sign, do it. After the 22x's cancel out, the left-hand side has just what on it?
8y.
8y. Are 4 and 22x like terms? No. So can I combine these? No, do not make that mistake. Do not put 26x. How would I write it out? 4 plus 22x. If you wanted to, you could put the x term first. It would be 22x plus 4. Either way works. Any questions on this first step? Is y completely by itself? No, it has the 8 with it still. What's going on between 8 and y? Multiplication. What's the inverse or the opposite of multiplication? Division. So I've got to divide by 8 to cancel it out. On the right side, what gets divided by 8? Everything. Every term has to get divided by 8. Okay? Left-hand side, I've got y. Right side, 4 divided by 8. Does that give me a whole number? Does not give me a whole number. It'll give me a fraction. What are 4 and 8 both divisible by? 2. What else? What's a bigger number they're both divisible by? 4. I want to divide by the biggest number that can go into both of them. 4 divided by 4? 1. 8 divided by 4? 2. So 4 over 8 becomes 1/2. You okay with that? Plus, does 22 divided by 8 give me a whole number? No. What's the biggest number that goes into both 22 and 8? Huh? 2? 22 divided by 2? 11. 8 divided by 2? 4. Do not forget the x with it. Are both of these fractions in simplest form? Yes, they are. Is my y completely by itself? Yes, it is. Here's my equation in slope-intercept form. What would be my slope here?
1/2.
Not 1/2.
11 y equals 11 over
Wait.
4 plus
What I'm just asking, what would my slope be?
11 over 4.
11 over 4. Not 11 over 4x, just the number being multiplied by x. Okay? It didn't ask us to do this, but I'm taking an extra step and showing you guys what our slope would be. Our slope would be 11/4, the number being multiplied by x. What would my y-intercept be? One half. The constant, the number without the variable. Okay? Anytime we're in slope-intercept form, the slope will always be the number multiplied by x. The y-intercept will always be the constant, the number without the variable. Okay? Questions on example 2? How we feel about examples like that? Solving equations for y. That might be a little more difficult than the previous example, but I think you guys can handle it. Can I move on? All right. It's my last example here. The number of job openings. The number of job openings in the United States during a recent year increased by an average of 0.06 million per month since May. In May, there were about 4.61 million job openings in the United States. Write an equation in slope-intercept form to represent the number of job openings in the United States in the months since May. Any ideas where we're going to go from here? How we're going to create this equation here? Any ideas? Essentially, we just need a slope and a y-intercept, right? Because we want an equation probably in slope-intercept form, since that's what the whole lesson is about, right? So, m is our slope. When we're dealing with a real-world problem, do you remember what we call slope? It's a 3-word phrase. Rate of change. We're finding the rate of change here of this problem, since this is a real-world problem. And I want to find the y-intercept as well. Any ideas what our rate of change is here? Yep.
0.06.
How do you know that?
And it says increase.
Increased and per month. That's the rate of change. It's increasing by an average of 0.06 per month. What variable is going to represent our months here? Not mx. M represents our slope. X. X is going to represent our months since May. So in my equation, I'm going to have y equals 0.06 x, because it's increasing by an average 0.06 million per month. 0.06 million per month. We okay with that? Questions how we got that? What would our y-intercept be?
4.61.
How do we know that that is our y-intercept?
Is the job opening?
Say it again.
Is the job opening?
It is the job opening. Think about x though. What is x representing?
Months.
Months. So May would be month 0, because that's our starting point. We know a y-intercept has an x value of 0. So how many job openings were there in May?
4.61.
4.6 million. So I should be able to plug in 0 for this and get 4.61 for my y. 0.06 times 0 is 0. 0 plus 4.61 is 4.61. So that comes out to be 0, comma, 4.61 for my ordered pair for my y-intercept. And that's my initial starting point. So I know that that's my y-intercept. There's my equation. You okay with example 3?
Yes, sir.
Questions, comments, concerns? We good?
Yeah.
Okay. Here's your assignment. I've got to go publish it real quick. This will be due on, what's today? Tuesday. It'll be due Thursday, the 23rd. But you got the rest of the class period to be working on it. Remember, if you cannot access it on Canvas, you can always go to McGraw-Hill to access it. I did just publish it, but like I said, if it doesn't come through during this class period, you can always just go through McGraw-Hill. Are there any questions about the notes before I end the recording?